They go by many names: Daesh, ISIL, Islamic State, ISIS. This terrorist group has been steadily gaining popularity for the past decade, until last year, when their growth and influence exploded. Victory after victory has emboldened ISIS, and a tech-savvy recruitment campaign sees that they have fresh radical recruits traveling to join up with them daily, from all over the globe. Who are these people? What are their goals? Why are they fighting? Who is ISIS? ISIS began as an extension of Al-Qaeda in Iraq in early 2004, but separated a few years ago because, according to Al-Qaeda, ISIS was too extreme. ISIS has hugely benefited from the chaos in the Middle East over the past decade. Between the ongoing civil war in Syria and the instability in Iraq, ISIS has steadily gained territory and resources over the past 2 years amidst the turmoil. They now control large swaths of land in Iraq and Syria, holding a territory that contains over 10 million people. They are the most well-funded terror group in history, making millions of dollars daily through sales of oil, antiquities, and human trafficking. Ideologically, ISIS has sought to establish itself as a caliphate, an Islamic state led by a group of religious authorities under a supreme leader, the Caliph, who is believed to be the successor to Muhammad. In June 2014, ISIS announced Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as the new Caliph. As Caliph, al-Baghdadi demands the allegiance of all devout Muslims worldwide, according to Islamic law. ISIS promotes religious violence and regards those who do not agree with its interpretations as infidels or apostates. ISIS aims to return to an uncorrupted 7th century form of Islam, with all the brutality that entails. When ISIS moves into a territory, they give local Christians 3 choices: convert to Islam, pay a penalty as a sign of submission, or die by the sword. Many Christians choose to flee, as those who stay are often killed in gruesome ways. Beheadings and crucifixions of men, women, and children are common occurrences. Cities where Christianity has thrived for nearly 2,000 years, like Karkosh and Mosul, have found their Christian populations decimated, either killed outright or forced to flee as refugees. ISIS has ushered in one of the largest refugee crises in history, many of whom are Christians, fleeing for their lives. Once they flee the violence and terror of ISIS, refugees face continued hardship. With refugee status, they are denied any legal way to work, and they struggle to find odd jobs and accept low wages that don't cover their most basic needs. The rise of ISIS has displaced over 3.3 million people in Iraq alone, with millions more fleeing Syria. But these aren't just numbers. These are real people, and it's time for the Church to rise up and help them.
It was a normal life living in Iraq. The security situation was bad. It's not that good.
At the beginning, we used to go to churches. But after the threats and the explosions of several churches in Mosul, our visits to church became fewer.
There were Christian students who lived in these Christian areas. They would go to Mosul for college, and they were targeted because they were Christians. Terrorists would bomb the buses that they were using. Once the bus moved, it exploded, and among the wounded were my friends. Many lost their limbs.
After a period of time, churches started to close due to the threats of the militia.
I had a strong psychological reaction to what happened. I wouldn't sleep at night at all, and the light had to be left on. When it's dark, I would never sleep, and I wouldn't leave the house.
Our only outlet were the religious channels, mainly the Kingdom Sat, which was our spiritual food.
One of them was the Kingdom Sat, and some of the people that I love the most was Dr. Michael Youssef.
We would watch the Kingdom Sat continuously.
I was affected by what he said a lot. Not to fear and not to let fear control us, that the Lord will be with us every day of our lives.
It's a lot of events that we passed through. But the most powerful one is what happened in June 2014, when ISIS fighters start to overtake the right bank of Mosul.
Explosions on a daily basis between the militias and the army. And we saw things. We saw mortars falling upon the city from all directions.
ISIS and Kurdish forces start to conflict around this village, and the mortars, blind mortars, starts to fall everywhere.
The explosions and the fire were all over the city, and we had no idea where it was coming from. All what we knew is that the situation was so severe that we couldn't leave our houses at all. Around 1 o'clock after midnight, people were in the streets and the city fell. And the malicious cars entered the city, but we didn't know who they were with.
It's an awful condition and awful events that we passed. We didn't what we want to do. If we were left in the night, we were just afraid, night and they are spreading everywhere in the streets.
We saw these cars entering the city, and there were men with masks inside, holding a black flag with ISIS written on it. When they entered the city, people left. Whoever could walk, walked, and whoever had a car, drove.
We had to leave Iraq in a rush, and we left everything behind. It was something we didn't plan for. We left our jobs, our life, and our possessions. When we arrived in Amman, we were very, very sad. We didn't have any hope at all after we lost everything we ever had.
We left without anything. We didn't have any salary or any source of income. We didn't have any money because we left in such a rush.
It was a hopeless condition, so we went to a neighboring country and we came to Jordan. And we thank the Lord that we arrived to Jordan.
When we arrived at Amman, it was the Lord's plan and the Lord's will for us to meet Brother George.
They gave us moral and financial support, and they helped us in a lot of areas in our life. We want to say thank you to Help the Persecuted service who gave us a lot of help, including paying our rent.
They provide for us rent, this house that we are in now. They provide for us this rent, and this will helping us supporting our life freely in our faith, without under any pressures that we could pass through.
Everything for us and help us for Bible study, for everything, and help us to came events for Iraqi refugees.
We are so thankful for the channel. Thank you to all the workers of the Kingdom Sat. We thank you for being here with us.